What if the stubborn belly fat, restless nights, unpredictable cravings, and constant digestive discomfort you have been blaming on aging are not simply a normal part of getting older, but signals from a body trapped in survival mode? After 40, your body does not respond to stress the way it did in your 20s. The pressure of deadlines, responsibilities, financial concerns, family demands, and the silent expectations you place on yourself no longer roll off your back the same way. Instead, your nervous system becomes more sensitive, your recovery slows, and one powerful hormone begins to take center stage in shaping your health: cortisol. This is not a villain created to sabotage you. Cortisol is designed to protect you. It is your built-in alarm system, your biological bodyguard, mobilizing energy when you need to act. But when stress stops being occasional and becomes constant, when your mind never fully powers down, when your body never receives the message that it is safe, cortisol remains elevated far longer than it was ever meant to. And that is when the silent transformation begins. Chronic stress after 40 is different because your resilience has been taxed for decades. Your body has accumulated life experience in the form of wear and tear, and that accumulated stress load makes it harder to return to balance. Elevated cortisol starts to influence your gut microbiome, reshaping the delicate ecosystem of bacteria that regulate digestion, immunity, and even mood. It increases inflammatory cytokines, creating a low-grade inflammatory environment that slowly chips away at optimal health. It weakens the intestinal barrier, allowing substances to pass into the bloodstream that should have remained contained, triggering further immune responses. You may notice bloating, irregular digestion, food sensitivities, or discomfort that seems to appear without warning. But beneath the surface, something deeper is happening. The gut and brain are in constant communication through the gut-brain axis, and when stress disrupts one, it disrupts the other. Your thoughts influence your digestion, and your digestion influences your thoughts. This is not coincidence. It is biology. At the same time, high cortisol interferes with sleep quality, reducing the deep, restorative phases your body depends on to repair tissue, regulate hormones, and stabilize blood sugar. You may fall asleep exhausted but wake up at 3 a.m. with a racing mind. You may feel tired all day yet wired at night. Sleep deprivation then feeds back into the stress response, raising cortisol even further, creating a cycle that feels impossible to escape. Blood sugar becomes more unstable because cortisol signals the liver to release glucose into the bloodstream as if you are constantly preparing to fight or flee. Over time, this repeated signal encourages the storage of visceral fat around the abdomen, not because you lack discipline, but because your body believes it is protecting you. Hormone balance begins to shift as well. Thyroid function can become less efficient. Sex hormones may decline more rapidly. Energy drops. Motivation fades. You start to wonder if this is simply what midlife feels like. But the truth is far more empowering than that. Your body is not betraying you. It is adapting to the signals you are consistently sending it. And the most powerful realization you can have is this: if stress can reshape your internal environment in a negative direction, then intentional recovery, regulation, and awareness can reshape it in a positive one. Understanding cortisol overload is not about fear. It is about reclaiming control over the systems that quietly govern your vitality after 40. But here is where the story becomes even more profound and perhaps a little unsettling. Chronic stress does not simply influence isolated systems in your body. It weaves itself into every layer of your physiology until you can no longer separate the physical from the emotional. Elevated cortisol becomes the invisible architect of your daily experience. It shapes how you wake up, how you digest, how you think, how you store fat, and even how you perceive challenges. What makes this especially powerful after 40 is that the margin for error becomes smaller. Recovery is no longer automatic. You cannot outrun stress with willpower alone. The strategies that once worked, pushing harder, sleeping less, ignoring fatigue, begin to backfire. Your body starts sending louder signals, but many people misinterpret them as weakness instead of wisdom. When cortisol remains elevated for months or years, inflammation quietly rises in the background. Inflammatory cytokines circulate through the bloodstream, affecting tissues, organs, and even the brain. This low-grade inflammation interferes with insulin sensitivity, making blood sugar swings more dramatic. You might notice intense cravings for quick carbohydrates, especially during high-stress periods, and feel frustrated by the lack of control. Yet the craving is not a failure of discipline. It is a biochemical response to stress. Your body is searching for rapid fuel because cortisol has convinced it that survival is at stake. At the same time, the gut lining becomes more permeable, and the microbiome shifts further away from balance. Beneficial bacteria decline, opportunistic strains increase, and digestive efficiency suffers. Nutrient absorption weakens, which means even if you are eating well, your body may not fully utilize what you consume. Energy drops, mood becomes unpredictable, and brain fog sets in. The connection between your gut and brain tightens like a feedback loop, amplifying anxiety and fatigue. Then comes the most subtle yet powerful shift. Your identity begins to adapt to the stress. You may start believing that feeling overwhelmed is normal, that poor sleep is inevitable, that stubborn belly fat is simply part of aging. But beneath that acceptance lies a deeper truth. Your nervous system has been locked in a heightened state of alertness for so long that calm feels unfamiliar. When the body is constantly bracing, digestion slows because survival takes priority over nourishment. Hormone production shifts because reproduction and long-term optimization are not essential in a perceived emergency. Thyroid activity may decrease as the body attempts to conserve energy. Sex hormones can fluctuate unpredictably, further influencing mood, metabolism, and motivation. Each system is adjusting to the same signal. Stress has not ended. And here's the suspenseful realization that changes everything. If cortisol can reprogram your metabolism, disrupt your gut, disturb your sleep, and alter your hormones without you consciously noticing, what else might it be influencing beneath the surface? How many decisions, cravings, moods, and limitations have been filtered through a nervous system that never fully feels safe? The thought can be unsettling because it suggests that the problem is deeper than diet trends or workout routines. It suggests that the root cause may be hidden in how consistently your body perceives threat. But within that realization lies extraordinary power. Because if the stress response is learned and reinforced, it can also be regulated and retrained. Your biology is not fixed, it is responsive. The same gut-brain axis that transmits stress signals can also transmit signals of safety. The same hormonal pathways that store fat under pressure can shift toward balance when recovery becomes intentional. This is not about eliminating stress from life, which would be unrealistic. It is about changing your relationship with it. It is about recognizing that after 40, protecting your nervous system is not optional. It is foundational. And once you understand that, you begin to see that every breath, every boundary, every moment of deliberate rest is not indulgence, but strategy. You start to wonder if this is simply what midlife feels like. But the truth is far more empowering than that. Your body is not betraying you. It is adapting to the signals you are consistently sending it. And the most powerful realization you can have is this: if stress can reshape your internal environment in a negative direction, then intentional recovery, regulation, and awareness can reshape it in a positive one. Understanding cortisol overload is not about fear. It is about reclaiming control over the systems that quietly govern your vitality after 40. The turning point begins the moment you stop fighting your body and start listening to it. Because the same system that has been amplifying stress is also capable of restoring balance when given consistent signals of safety. After 40, transformation is less about intensity and more about regulation. It is less about punishing workouts and extreme restrictions, and more about calming the nervous system that has been operating in overdrive. When you intentionally slow your breathing, extending your exhales, and allowing your diaphragm to fully expand, you send a direct message through the vagus nerve that the threat has passed. That simple act begins lowering cortisol in real time. When you prioritize deep, restorative sleep by dimming lights at night, reducing late screen exposure, and maintaining consistent sleep schedules, you allow your hormonal rhythm to recalibrate. Cortisol begins to rise and fall according to its natural pattern instead of remaining elevated around the clock. Blood sugar stabilizes, cravings lose their urgency, energy becomes more predictable. Nutrition also shifts from being a battlefield to becoming a tool for repair. Supporting the gut microbiome with fiber-rich vegetables, fermented foods, and adequate protein provides the raw materials your body needs to rebuild the intestinal barrier that stress has weakened. Reducing ultra-processed foods lowers inflammatory load, giving your immune system a chance to quiet down. Hydration supports cellular communication and metabolic efficiency. None of these actions are dramatic on their own, but together they create momentum. They gradually reshape the internal environment that chronic stress distorted. Movement becomes a source of resilience rather than exhaustion when you balance strength training with restorative practices like walking outdoors, stretching, or mindful mobility work. Overtraining in a high cortisol state only deepens the stress response, but intelligent training enhances insulin sensitivity and supports hormone balance. Your body does not need more punishment. It needs partnership. Perhaps the most powerful shift happens at the level of perception. Stress is not only about external pressure, it is about internal interpretation. When you build moments of reflection into your day, even 5 quiet minutes without stimulation, you teach your brain that stillness is safe. When you set boundaries around commitments that drain you, you conserve energy that would otherwise fuel inflammation and hormonal disruption. When you cultivate gratitude or practice journaling, you alter neural pathways that influence how the brain categorizes events. The gut-brain axis responds accordingly, reinforcing a cycle of stability instead of alarm. Over time, belly fat that once felt immovable begins to respond because the body no longer believes it must store energy for survival. Sleep deepens because cortisol is no longer peaking at midnight. Hormones find equilibrium because the emergency signal has softened. This is the deeper message. Your body is not broken after 40. It is responsive to the signals it receives most consistently. Chronic stress taught it to protect you in the only way it knew how. Now you have the opportunity to teach it something new. By regulating cortisol, you influence your gut, your metabolism, your thyroid, your sex hormones, and even your mood. You reclaim authority over systems that once felt unpredictable. Progress may not be immediate and it may not be linear, but it will be real. Every calm breath, every restorative night of sleep, every nourishing meal is a vote for balance. You are not at the mercy of aging. You are at a crossroads where awareness becomes power. Protecting your nervous system is an act of long-term self-respect. Regulating stress is not a luxury reserved for retreats and vacations. It is a daily discipline that safeguards your future vitality. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early. You start to wonder if this is simply what midlife feels like, but the truth is far more empowering than that. Your body is not betraying you. It is adapting to the signals you are consistently sending it. And the most powerful realization you can have is this. If stress can reshape your internal environment in a negative direction, then intentional recovery, regulation, and awareness can reshape it in a positive one. Understanding cortisol overload is not about fear. It is about reclaiming control over the systems that quietly govern your vitality after 40.